Hello everyone, how are you? This is Pom and welcome back to the channel Safety with Pom. So today training topic is about the carbon credit. So in this video we will discuss about the carbon credit related information, and I will provide you A to Z information about the carbon credit. Okay, and for a few of the people it could be the new topic, and but if you are already working in sustainability or environment sector, you already knew about this topic, carbon credit. So carbon credit is not a small topic, it's a very broad topic, and there are so many things involved related to the carbon credit. Okay, so in this video I will provide you A to Z information about the carbon credit, and each and everything I will explain in this video. Apart from these informations, if you have still any doubts, so you can comment in the comment section and I will provide the answer of your question also. Okay, so let's start the video. Before starting the training, I just would like you to request that please do not forget to subscribe the channel. If you haven't subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel and comment in the comment section, like the video also, and share with your friends and colleagues as well. So I hope this video will help you in your career, and definitely you will get some new information and the knowledge and ideas through this video. So let's start this video. So in this video, I will cover the different modules. The first module will discuss about the introduction to climate change and carbon footprints. Under this one, we'll discuss about the basic of climate change and global warming. Then we'll touch the greenhouse gas and their impact related topic. And we will go through the understanding the carbon footprint and emission sources, how the carbon can be emitted from the different sources. Then we will discuss about the role of carbon credit in climate mitigation. So how the carbon credit can help to mitigate the climate. Then we'll go to the module number 2, which will discuss about the what are the carbon credits. So there are different types of carbon credits in the markets. So we'll discuss about those one, like the definition, carbon credit versus carbon offset, types of carbon credit, okay, compliance versus voluntary markets, units of measurement and verification standards. So all these things we'll discuss under the module 2. Then we have the module 3. Under the module 3, we will discuss about the regulatory frameworks and standards. So not all the countries around the world, but most of the countries now they have started climate change and the sustainability related things under the regulatory requirements, and there are some requirements which required some of the companies they need to comply with these requirements. Okay, so Kyoto Protocol and the Clean Development Mechanism (CDM), Paris Agreement and Article number 6, verified carbon standards versus gold standards, and others will discuss, and national policies and carbon pricing also will check in the module 3. Then we have the module number 4, which will discuss about the carbon markets. So there are different type of carbon markets: compliant markets, voluntary carbon market. So in these carbon market, there are some key players also. We'll discuss about those, and the trading platform and the carbon exchanges also we'll discuss. Then we have the module number 5, which will talk about the carbon credit project development, and module number 6, which will discuss where we'll discuss about the future of carbon credit. So what is the future for the carbon credit, we'll discuss at the end of the module number 6. So as you can see here, there are total 6 modules, and this video will be a little bit lengthy. So I will cover this video in 2 parts. So part 1, I will go through till module number 4. Then part 4 will go for the module number 5 and module number 6. Sorry. So I would suggest you to just go through these each topics to get the very detailed understanding about the carbon credit, and to get the each and everything information about the carbon credit that you can get through this video. So let's start this video. The module 1. The module 1 is about the introduction to climate change and carbon footprint. We'll discuss about this topic in module 1. So introduction to climate change and carbon footprints. So let's start with the definition of what is the climate change. So as you know that climate change is a long-term changes in the temperature, precipitation, wind patterns, and other aspects of Earth's climate system. So climate change will not occur in 1 day, 2 days, or 1 month, 3 months, or 1 year. So to occur a climate change, minimum 10 to 15 years required. Only then there will be some changes in the climate. So climate change is not, it is not the changes in the weather, it is the changes in the climate. Like let's say that during the what you call winter, there are so much rain starting in the November or December. Some of the areas, that is because of the climate change, not because of the weather. So continuously, that climate will start to change, and sometimes it will happen unwanted things like the snowfall is happening in the during the month of March or April. So these things will happen because of the climate change. Then the key point of climate change includes both natural and human include induced changes. But the current trend is largely due to human activity. So climate change will occur basically because of two things, because of the natural climate change, and the second one is the human related activities. So human related activities is the major thing nowadays at present, which is causing the climate change due to our greenhouse gas emissions, and we are cutting the trees, and we are using the resources, fossil fuels also we are using too much. So because of all these things, it's causing the climate change. Okay. Now there is a global warming also. Now what is the global warming? Global warming is the long term heating of Earth's climate system due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increase the greenhouse gas levels. Okay. So global warming, it is the increasing of the earth temperature because of the human activities and fossil fuel burning, and it will increase the greenhouse gas levels also. Whenever the greenhouse gases levels will increase inside the earth, then the temperature which is inside the earth, that will not go out, and that remain, the temperature, the warm will remain inside the earth, that will get trapped inside there. So slowly, what will happen? The Earth temperature will increase. So that is the global warming. Now the differences between the global warming and the climate change. So global warming refers specifically to the Earth's rising surface temperature. Okay. So global warming, it is related to the temperature increasing, while climate change includes global warming and the broader effects. So the climate change, under the climate change, it is the global warming. Okay, and there are some other effects also comes under the climate change. The global warming, it is the part of the climate change. Global warming is basically the increase in the temperature of the earth's surface. Then we have the greenhouse effect. So natural processes, greenhouse gases trap heat in earth's atmosphere. Okay, as I told you that greenhouse gases, these will trap the heat in the earth's surfaces atmosphere, and keeping it warm enough to sustain life. So these greenhouse gases will keep the earth warm, and it will not allow the atmosphere heat to go outside of the sun. So that's why your our earth is getting warmer and warmer, because we are using more greenhouse gases. Okay, and more emission is we are emitting more gases in the atmosphere. So that's why. Okay, so this is the earth and this is the atmosphere, and greenhouse gases is not allowing temperature to go out. Okay, and it is getting trapped here. So whatever the temperature is coming in, it is getting trapped inside the earth, and it's increasing the temperature. So there are some key greenhouse gases are there which we are using. Okay, first we have the carbon dioxide, CO2. It is one of the major greenhouse gases that we, yeah, emit in the environment, and the main cause is the transportation, as you know that. Then we have the methane. It is compared to CO2, it is less, but there is a still we use this one, like in different industries and the household also we use the methane also. Then we have the nitrous oxide. After then we have the fluorinated gases. Okay, then we have the water vapor. So these are the main gases that are causing the greenhouse effect. So these are the main greenhouse gases. Now we'll discuss about the carbon footprint. Now what is the carbon footprint? So the carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases, especially like carbon dioxide, emitted directly or indirectly by an individual or the organizations or the event or the product, usually expressed in CO2 equivalent. So it is carbon footprint is it is the amount of carbon dioxide that we emit or release in the environment. So that is the carbon footprint. So that these carbon footprint can be emitted by the organization, it could be emitted by the individual person, it could be emitted by the product. And CO2 carbon footprint we are measuring in CO2 equivalent. Okay, so in this way we will measure it, CO2. Okay, so you can see here the carbon footprint is there are different percentages which is emitting the carbon in the environment. Components of carbon footprint. Carbon footprint can be direct or indirect. So there are two types of carbon footprints. So first one is the direct, the second one is the indirect. So the direct type of carbon footprint, the examples emission from the vehicle, gas stoves, company machineries. These are emitting the direct carbon in the environment. Then we have the indirect one, emission from electricity use, supply chain activities. So directly these things are not emitting the carbon in the environment, but indirectly they are emitting. Okay, to the more you will use the electricity, the more carbon will release in the environment, because to produce the electricity we have to use like we have to burn the fossil fuels, maybe we have to burn the coal, maybe we have to burn certain other things. So when we are burning, we are releasing the carbon in the environment indirectly. Okay, so in this way we are using the electricity that is also causing the emitting the carbon in the environment. Enhanced greenhouse effect. Now, what is the enhanced greenhouse effect? So, enhanced greenhouse effect is the human activities increase greenhouse gases, intensifying this effects and leading to higher global temperature. Okay, so there are some human activities which is increasing the higher global temperature. So there are some natural, okay, through the nature happen, and there are human activities also, like less heat escape, more re-emitted in the heat and the solar radiations, and the uh, radiated heat, CO2, more greenhouse gases. So these are the main things which is caused by the greenhouse effect through the natural and the human one. Now the major sources of greenhouse gas emissions. So there are different sources which is emitting the greenhouse gases. So we can say that the sources is here and the key activities here. The energy sector, power plants, fossil fuel use, they are emitting the carbon greenhouse gases. Transportation, car, trucks, and aviation. Then the sources is industry. The key activity is cement, steel, and chemical production. Then we have the agriculture. So the agriculture is also the source of greenhouse gas emission. They are like the livestock, rice farming, and the fertilizers. So these also cause the greenhouse gas emission. Then the waste. Waste is the landfills, wastewater treatments. These also cause the greenhouse gas emission. Then we have the deforestation and land use, logging and land clearing. So these are the key activities which is causing the greenhouse gas emission. These are the key sources. Role of carbon credit in climate mitigation. Now there is a new term is in the market, that the carbon credit. So what is the role that carbon credit can play to mitigate the climate? So first of all, we have to understand the what is the meaning of carbon credits. So let's go through the definition first. A carbon credit is a tradable certificate representing the right to emit 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent. Okay, so carbon credit, it's a kind of tradable certificate. So it's a kind of certificate that you will get from the some of the organizations or from the government bodies, that it will give you permission to emit 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent to the environment. Okay, so that is the certificate will be provided to the organizations. Now there are different terms is included in the carbon credit that we will go through later on. Now, what is the purpose of carbon credit? So purpose of the carbon credit is to put a price on carbon emission. Okay. So the people, if they will emit more carbon, they have to pay more money, or some sanctions or some other things can be implemented on that. So to put a price on carbon emission and encourage reductions by making financially beneficial to reduce or offset emission. So that is the main purpose of carbon credit. So the main purpose is to put the price, until unless, as you know, that if you will not put the price on something, people will not take it seriously. So this is the main reason to put the price on the carbon credit. Now, how carbon credit support the climate mitigation? Let's understand this one. First is the mechanism. Then we have the role in mitigation. How cap and trade program will mitigate the climate. So cap and trade program, in this one, emitters are given a cap, okay, and they can trade credits if they emit less than allowed. So let's say that I have the carbon credit, and as per carbon credit, I can emit this much, like 1 metric ton of CO2. So let's say that certain period I have 1 year, and under in that 1 year I emit only the half of metric ton of CO2 equivalent. So that half of ton CO2 equivalent I can sell that one also, and I can get the money of that one also. Okay, so in that way cap and trade programs is there, so that can play a role to mitigate less. So the company will mitigate less carbon emission to the environment, and they will get the benefit of the remaining uh, credit. Then we have the voluntary carbon markets. So the voluntary carbon market, organizations, individuals voluntarily offset their emission by buying carbon credits. So the other company, they can buy the carbon credit also. Let's say that I will buy this carbon credit from this organization, which is emit only the half of ton of CO2 equivalent. So the other organization, they will buy it, so they will get the money from this one. Then the funding for low carbon projects. So there is a funding also will be provided for the low carbon project, credit revenue funds, renewable energy, reforestation, energy efficiency, etc. These will provide the fund also. So in this one, if they will provide the fund, it will be beneficial for the company. So in that way, carbon can be mitigated. Then technology transfer and innovation. Projects often introduce clean technologies to developing regions. Then incentivizing emission reduction. So the carbon credits create a financial incentive to cut emissions. So all of these things can support the climate mitigations. Then the types of project that can generate carbon credits. So there are different types of projects that we can generate the carbon credits. So the first one, we have the renewable energy. So under the renewable energy, as you know, that we have the wind, we have the solar, we have the hydropower, and we have the biomass. So these are the four uh, projects will come under the renewable energy: wind, solar, hydro, and biomass. Then we have the forestry. Under the forestry, we have the reforestation, afforestation, REDD plus projects. Then we have the methane capture. So under the methane capture, we have from landfills or the livestock operation. Then we have the energy efficiency. Under the energy efficiency, we have the clean cook stoves and efficient lighting. So these are the two projects are there under the energy efficiency. Then we have the waste management. Under the waste management, you have the composting, biogas production. So these are the two projects are there under the waste management, composting and biogas production. So in this way, there are the different types of projects that can generate the carbon credits. Now the benefits of carbon credits in mitigation. So mobilize private sector investment. So it will mobilize the private sector investment also, and it will provide you the low cost options for companies to meet climate goals. And also it will increase global participation in emission reduction, and it will help to meet the net zero targets also. Then core benefits such as like the biodiversity, jobs, community development, and certain other benefits also could be there from the carbon credits. So that was all about the module 1. I hope you understood all this information which I have provided in the module 1. But still, if you have any doubts, please comment in the comment section and I will answer your doubts and will provide the information. So let's move to the module number 2, which is what are the carbon credits. So in this module number 2, we will discuss about the different types of carbon credits. So what are carbon credits? So carbon credit, as you know, that the definition is tradable certificate representing the right to emit one metric ton of CO2 equivalent. Okay, it is a tradable certificate. So carbon credit is basically a tradable certificate which will give you the what you call authorization to emit 1 metric ton of CO2. Okay, so as you know, the purpose put a price on carbon emission and encourage reduction by making it financially beneficial to reduce or offset the emission. So that is the carbon credit. Now the types of carbon credit. As you know that there are the different types of carbon credit. So there are two types of carbon credits. One is the compliance carbon credit and the second one is a voluntary carbon credit. Compliance carbon credit, it is implemented by the companies to meet legal emission requirements. So compliance credit, it's always from the government side. Okay, it is always the legal requirement. You don't have the choice to whether you want to meet or no. You have to meet with the requirements. So that is the compliance credit requirement, carbon. So use case used by the companies to meet the legal emission limit. Then we have the voluntary credits. Okay, voluntary carbon credits. In the voluntary carbon credits, it is purchased voluntarily to meet voluntary to offset emission beyond legal obligations. So like it is not the legal requirement in some of the company, but voluntarily they want to participate in the carbon credit, so that's why they are purchasing it. Okay, so they will purchase it voluntarily from some of the companies, some of the organizations, and they will participate also in this program. So it is not the legal requirements for the voluntary. So the compliance, it is legal requirement. Voluntary, it is the choice whether you want to participate or not. So as you know that some of the company for their goodwill to show in the market, to represent in the market, participate in the ongoing trend, they will uh, purchase the carbon credit also, and they will take the participation in this one also. Now, how the carbon credit works? Now, you have purchased the carbon credit now, or you have the certificate of carbon credit now. But how it will work? So, as you know that one credit, it is equivalent to 1 ton of CO2 avoided or removed. One carbon credit, it is 1 ton of CO2 equivalent. It is avoided or removed from the environment. So that is the one carbon credit. Then if an entity emits more than allowed, it must buy credit. So let's say that I am a company A, and I have a 1 credit of carbon. Okay, so as per my certificate, I'm only allowed to uh, avoid, or I can emit only the 1 ton of CO2 in the environment. But if I want to emit more carbon in the environment, then I have to buy. Okay, it must buy credits. So I have to buy more carbon credits to emit in the environment. If it emits less, it can sell or bank credit. So let's say then I'm a company A, but instead of 1 ton, I'm emitting only the zero point 0.5 in the environment. So the zero point 0.5 remaining one I can sell or bank credits also. So I can keep as a stock for me also, like holding, or I can sell it to the different organization also. And the credits are generated from projects that reduce, avoid, or remove greenhouse gases. So how the credits are generated? So credits will generated in a different ways. First, it is generated from the projects that is reduce the carbon, or that is avoid the carbon or remove the greenhouse gas emission, or such as like renewable energy or afforestation. You plant the more trees, which is remove the more carbon from the environment. Okay, so in these projects will give you the carbon credit. Now let's go to the history of carbon credits. Little bit information will share here. So how the carbon credit started? It has started in 1977 in the Kyoto Protocol. Sorry, the Kyoto Protocol was established legally binding emission reduction targets for developed countries at that time in 1977. Then It has introduced three flexible mechanisms like Clean Development Mechanism (CDM). So projects in developing countries generate credits at that time. Then joint implementation projects between developers countries and the international emission trading (IET) trading of credit among countries. Then in 2005, European Union emission trading system was implemented. Then it was the first and largest multinational carbon market was there in European Union, and it has created a cap and trade system for industry sectors in 2005. And after that, in 2010, rise of voluntary carbon markets. In 2010, voluntarily also the companies they started to take a participate in this section. Then the corporations and individuals began offsetting emission voluntarily in 2010. Then the standards like verified carbon standards (VCS) and the gold standards gained popularity at that time in 2010. Then in 2015, Paris Agreement happened. In the Paris Agreement, a shifted focus from top to down to bottom up, nationally determined contribution (NDCs) was implemented. Then the Article 6 was introduced, a new global carbon market framework at that time. Then we have in 2020's net zero movement was started, and massive growth in carbon credit used to meet net zero pledges at that in 2020s. Then it has increased the scrutiny on credit quality, additionality, and the permanence in 2020. So that is this is the whole history of the carbon credit, how it is started from the Kyoto Protocol till 2020 to net zero movement, which is still going on. So these are the things happened between 1997 to 2020s. Now let's move to the carbon credit versus carbon offset. Now what is the difference between the carbon credit versus carbon offset? So term carbon credit, as you know, that it is a certification or certificate or a permit which will allow a holder to emit 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent under a cap and trade or compliance system. So that is a carbon credit. So it's kind of certificate to emit a 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent to the into the environment. So it's a kind of certificate. Now what is the carbon offset? Carbon offset, it is a reduction or removal of 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent through a project. Okay. Through a project, example reforestation, renewable energy, or used to neutralize emission elsewhere. So carbon offset will it is like you have to do some kind of project, and through that project you have to reduce the carbon. Okay. So in carbon offset you have to reduce the carbon, but carbon credit you have the choice to emit the carbon. So once you have the carbon credit, okay, then you can emit the 1 metric ton of CO2 in the environment. But carbon offset, in the carbon offset, you have to reduce or remove the CO2, 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent through a project from the environment, like the reforestation, renewable energy, or use to neutralize emission elsewhere. So these two things that we are different. Now let's go to the key differences between the carbon credit and the carbon offset. Now the purpose of the carbon credit used to comply with the regulatory emission limits. Okay, so carbon credit, it is by the legal requirement, and the carbon offset used to voluntary balance or neutralize emission. So it is the voluntarily people are doing or the company will do. Now the market type for the carbon credit compliance markets, example European Union, ETS, and the California cap and trade. So these are the what you call compliance market, which is from the government side. Then for the carbon offset, there is no government related side. It is voluntary markets like the corporate net zero commitments. Then who will use it? Carbon credit, government or regulated industries will use it. Carbon offset, business, individuals, or the NGOs will use the carbon offset. Now the source, cap and trade allocation or emission reduction, carbon credit, and for the carbon offset, verified emission reduction removal projects. Now the tradability, for the carbon credit, fully tradable under a regulatory framework. Okay. then the carbon offset can be bought, sold, or retired by choice. Now, regulation level, highly regulated and standardized carbon credit are highly regulated and standardized. But the carbon offset may vary in quality and standards like the VCS and the gold standards. So it's depend on the quality for the carbon offset. So these were the main differences between the carbon credit and the carbon offset. Now let's go to the example scenario. Some of the example scenario. Carbon credit example. Okay, compliance market. A power plant under an emission cap emits 10,000 tons of CO2 but is allowed only 9,000. It buys 1,000 carbon credits to remain compliant. So let's say that carbon credit, the compliance market of power plant under an emission cap emits 10,000 tons of CO2. Okay, but it is allowed is 9,000 only. So they have to purchase 1,000 more carbon credit to remain under the legal requirements. Okay, so that is the carbon credit example. Now the carbon offset example, voluntary market. A company which is emitting 5,000 tons of CO2 and it is fund a reforestation project that removes 5,000 tons of CO2 to claim carbon neutrality. Okay, you are emitting 5,000 and you are removing 5,000 from the environment by the project, reforestation project. So it is neutrality. So you are neutralizing. You are not removing anything from the environment and you are not giving to from the environment, because 5,000 you are emitting and 5,000 you are removing from the environment. So that is a carbon offset. So the carbon offset available to individual, small businesses and large corporations, as you know that, and the carbon credits can only be traded by the companies and governments. And support carbon offset will support the projects that removes greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. And carbon credit will represent the right to emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide. Okay, traded in the voluntary market, carbon offset, carbon credit will use cap and trade system regulated by the government. So cap and trade system, it is regulating by the government bodies and carbon credit will be used under that. Now let's go to the summary chart. So the carbon credit and the carbon offset. Emission permit or allowance will be there for the carbon credit. Emission reduction or removal required under the carbon offset. Then used for the regulatory compliance, carbon credit. Used for the voluntary mitigation under the carbon offset. Part of cap and trade system. So the carbon credit, as you know that it is the cap and trade system, and it carbon offsetting, it is a part of offsetting project. Carbon credit can be bought, sold, or it can be traded. Okay, carbon offset need to purchase or retired for offsetting. So only two options are there. Carbon offset you cannot sell, but carbon credit you can buy, you can sell, you can trade also. All three options are available under the carbon credit. Now, how to measure the carbon credit? Let's go to the units of measurement and verification standards for the carbon credit. Now, the units of measurement in carbon credits, like the one primary, so the primary unit for the carbon credit is a one carbon credit. It is equal to 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent. Okay, so in this way we have to measure one carbon credit. It is equal to 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent. This is includes the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases like methane, nitrous oxide, and certain other gases are included under the one carbon credit, all converted into a common unit of CO2 equivalent using global warming potential. So all these gases they are converted into the like methane, nitrous oxide, and certain other greenhouse gases, chlorofluorocarbon also. So all these gases are converted into the CO2 equivalent by using the global warming potentials. So then it will be calculated in the CO2 equivalent. So do not get confused that how other gases like the methane and the other like nitrous oxide, chlorofluorocarbon, how they are getting calculated in the CO2 equivalent. So they are getting converted in the CO2, then they are getting calculated under the CO2 equivalent. Now the other units in a specific context is the unit TCO, T CO2 equivalent, it is equivalent to 1 ton of CO2 used in standard in most programs. Okay, KT CO2 equivalent, it is 1000 tons of CO2 equivalent. National inventories, they are using it. Metric CO2 equivalent, it is 1 million tons of equivalent. Country NDC level reporting, they will use it. Certified emission reduction, it is 1 ton of CO2 equivalent credit under CDM Kyoto Protocol, clean development management, and the United Nations mechanisms. Then the verified carbon unit, it is a 1 ton of CO2 credit under VCS voluntary market. They will be used. Now the measurement process, how these carbon credit will be measured. Carbon credit will be measured by the quantification of emission reduction or removal. So how the emission is reduced or removed, and it is done by the establishing a baseline scenario, what would happen without the project. Okay, so this is the baseline scenario, that what would happen without that project. In that way they will measure it. Then measuring actual emission or the removal. So the actual emission or the removal will be measured under this one also. Then the calculating the difference, net reduction. So that also will be calculated here, one thing. Now in this, what are the tools will be used? There are different tools will be used, like the emission factors from IPCC or local standards. Okay. Then the direct mechanisms like the meters or sensors will be there, which is already installed in that project, or the what you call equipments. So those will measure it directly. Or remote sensing for forestry, land use projects, and through the satellite also, that can be measure, or that can be checked. So these are the things will be used for the measurement process. Verification standards for the carbon credit. How the carbon credits can be verified. So the verification ensure that carbon credits are represent real, additional, measurable, and permanent emission reduction or removal. So that's why these things need to be verified, to make sure they are realistic, and the additional, measurable, and the permanent emission reduction or removals are there. So the key verification standards are there for the voluntary market, like okay, VERRA, which is VCS, verified carbon standards. So managed by the Vera non-profit, it is a non-profit organization, and the project type they will manage like the energy, forestry, or the waste management system, etc. They will manage it. Then we have the another standard which we are calling the gold standards. So the gold standards, like it is managed by the Gold Standard Foundation, and they are project they are handling. It is a high social and environmental impact related project they are handling. Then the Clean Development Management Mechanism, CDM. Clean Development Mechanism, it is UNFCCC. Kyoto Protocol was during that time it was introduced, and it was managed by the UNFCCC, and they are handling the project type, the renewable energy efficiency. Now it is going down. Then we have the Climate Action Reserves. Climate Action Reserve, it is managed by the US based non-profit organization, and the North American project they are handling it. Then the American Carbon Registry. American Carbon Registry, it is managed by the Windrock International. They are managing the forestry, energy, and the agriculture related project. Then we have the ART trees, architecture for read plus transactions, managed by them, and the forest carbon, they are managing this program. Then we have the Plan Vivo Foundation, Plan Vivo standard, which is managed by the Plan Vivo Foundation, and they are managing the project like the community led land use projects. So these are the verification standards which will be used by the voluntary market, and they are using the different standards and managed by the different organizations, and they are managing the different projects. Now the verification project process, how the verification will be done. First, project design document. So the outlines the methodology, baseline, and the monitoring plan. How the project will be outlined, what is the methodology, baseline, and the monitoring plan could be there. Then how the project will be validated. Project need to be validated. It is a pre-project. So independent third party, they will check the project design, and they will see if there is any changes is required, If not, then they will approve. Then the monitoring ongoing. Project collects the data as per the approved methodology. Then the verification post implementation. Once the project is implemented, then it will be verified. Accredited verifier reviews emission reduction removal data for the project. Then the certification they will issue. Verified credits are issued on a registry, like example like the Vera registry. So this is the complete process of the project implementing, starting, and getting the carbon credit. So carbon credits are measured in metric tons of CO2 equivalent. Like the project must follow internationally recognized standards. Verification is critical for market trust and environmental integrity. Okay, so the carbon credit projects that need to be measured in the metric ton of CO2 equivalent. And as you know that one carbon credit it is equivalent to 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent. And these projects will be verified and they will be inspected, they will be audited by the internationally recognized verification bodies, and it is very critical for market to keep the trust or build the trust also. And high quality standards like the VCS and verified carbon standards and the gold standards ensure robust and credible carbon credits. So that's why that's need to be audited. So that's why that was the module number 2. I hope all this information which I provided in the module number 2, you understood that one. So now let's move to the module number 3, regulatory frameworks and the standards we will discuss in this module. So regulatory framework and the standards. So under this one, regulatory, as you know that we already discussed, the Kyoto Protocol was started in 1997. It was the first global treaty to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. Then it was introduced the CDM carbon credit mechanism, then the clean development mechanism, joint implementation, international emission trading at that time. Then the Paris Agreement came into effect in 2015. It replaced the Kyoto Protocol. So 2015 Paris Agreement it's replaced the Kyoto Protocol. Then countries set nationally determined contribution NDCs. Then Article 6 into come into effect, introduced two market-based mechanism, Article 6.2 and Article 6.4. So the major national and regional frameworks are European Union. First is the European Union. So European Union ETS emission trading system is there. They are managing this one. So the world's largest, it is one of the world's largest cap and trade program. It is covering the power industry and aviation. Then USA, California country, okay. It is also running the cap and trade program, okay, and it is includes the offset regulated by the California Air Resources Board, okay, CARB. Then the China is running the national ETS launched in 2021. It is initially covers power sectors, plans to expand to other industries also they have. Then we have the South Korea KETS. It is operates the national cap and trade system. Then the Canada. Canada has the federal and provincial system. It is used the carbon pricing and credits in provinces like Quebec and linked to California. So these are the main countries, and they are running the program and the regulations under the carbon credit. So that was for very short for the clause number 3, carbon credit related regulatory frameworks and the standards. These are the main standards which is managing the carbon credit, and these are the countries who's leading in the carbon credit sector. Now let's move to the carbon markets module number 4. So in this module number 4, we will discuss about the carbon markets. So what are the carbon markets? What are these kinds of markets? What they will do? Okay. So the carbon markets are the platform or systems where carbon credit are bought and sold. Okay. So it's a kind of same normal markets. Okay, like vegetable markets or any certain fruit markets, but it is a market. But in this market, you will only buy and sell carbon credit. Okay. So the carbon credit is a market where you will buy or sell the carbon credit. The main purpose is to put a price on carbon emissions to incentivize emission reduction and support climate friendly projects. So that is the main purpose of the carbon credit. Now the types of carbon markets. So there are two types of carbon markets: compliance market, okay, which is running by the government bodies. Then there is a voluntary market, which we discussed already. So the compliance market for the carbon markets, it's regulated by the governments. Participants are legally required to reduce emissions or buy the credits. And the voluntary market is not regulated companies. It is running by the NGOs, and the individuals can buy carbon credits to offset emissions voluntarily. Compliance carbon markets. So the compliance carbon markets, these markets exist under mandatory regulatory or cap and trade systems where governments set emission limits. So as you know that carbon compliance carbon market, it is running by the government, and whatever the government will set the limit, that as a company you have to comply with the requirements. Examples of the compliance carbon market: European Union ETS, California cap and trade, China national ETS, and Korea ETS. Okay, so these are the example of the compliance carbon markets. Now, how the compliance carbon market will work? So emitters are given. So like I am a company A and I am emitting a CO2 in the environment. I have the certificate to emit 1 ton, 1 carbon credit. Okay, so I'm allowed to emit only 1 carbon credit. If I'm emitting more, I have to buy more carbon credit. Okay. If I'm emitting less than 1, suppose 0.5, then I'm allowed to sell that carbon credit, or I'm allowed to hold that carbon credit also. So in this way, it will work. If they exceed the cap, they must buy credit or face penalties. So the penalties also will be placed on them. Now the voluntary carbon credit carbon markets. So VCMs, voluntary carbon markets, they operate outside the legal boundaries. So the legal requirements will not work for them. So the buyers offset the emission voluntarily. So they will offset the carbon voluntarily by planting the more trees or energy related projects they will run, or the different ways they will optimize. Then key features of this voluntary carbon markets are: projects include the reforestation, renewable energy, methane capture, etc. The credit verified by the standards like the Vera, VCS, and the Gold standards also, and the Plan Vivo, etc. We can verify the project. Increasing interest from the corporates, pledging net zero by 2030 and 50. So it is increasing. This trend is increasing because there are so many companies. They have set the target that net zero target by 2030 or net zero target by 2050. So that's why it is getting increased day by day. So the participants. So there will be a buyer type and the purpose also. So the corporation achieves carbon neutrality, meet ESG goals. Then the individuals, they offset travel, lifestyle, or emissions will be changed. So in this way, they will do. Market infrastructure. So key components of the market infrastructure is the registries. Component is the registries. So description: registries will track the issuance, ownership, and the retirements of the credits, like the Vera registry. So these are the registries. They have these kind of work. Then we have the standard bodies. Like the standard bodies will define the methodologies and approve credit generating projects. Example: gold standards. Then we have the exchange and brokers. Exchange and brokers will facilitate credit buying and selling facilities. Then the verifiers, the third parties that validate and verify emission reductions. So these are the components are there, and they have these kind of responsibilities they have to play. Carbon market pricing. Now the carbon market pricing, how it is defined. So the price will vary based on the market type, whether it is a compliance or the voluntary. So based on the compliance or the voluntary, the price will be different. The project type also. The project also will be the different. It will depend price also will depend on the project also, whether it is a forestry or the renewable energies. So standards also used. What kind of standards you have used? Gold standard if you have used, so the price could be the different. Now co-benefits also could vary the price. So the price could be the different if there is a co-benefits like the community or the biodiversity benefits also could be there because of that project. So the price could be the different. So the example prices as of recent years, let's say the European Union ETS price range per ton of CO2 equivalent. It is $80 to $1,100. Then the California cap and trade, it is $30 to $40, and the voluntary market is $2 to $20. So these are the price which is different. Now the key players, categories, and their roles in carbon credit market. So the regulatory, policymakers, and authorities. So the regulators, they will set the rules and the policies. They will enforce the limits, provide governance for the carbon credit systems. So that they will do. Then the project developers. Project developers will design the project, implement the project, manage the project that generates the carbon credit by reducing or removing the greenhouse gas emissions. Then there is a verifiers, third party auditors. So they will independently validate and verify that emissions reductions or removals are real, additional, and measurable. Then the credit buyers, buyers are those who purchase carbon credit to offset the emission, meet regulatory requirement, or fulfill the voluntary commitments. Now let's move to the summary chart. So we have the player category, then we have the main responsibility, then the examples. So the regulators, their responsibility to prepare the policy, enforcement, compliance, and rules. UNFCCC, European Union Commission, California ARB. Then we have the project developers. They will create, implement emission reduction projects like the biocarbon, South Pole, VNV advisory. Then the verifiers, they will verify the project, okay, like the DNV, TUV cert, and SGS. Then the buyers, they will purchase the credit to meet goal or legal requirements like the Microsoft, Delta Airlines, and the BP, British Petroleum, and the Nestle. So they are the buyers. They are buying the carbon credit. Then the standard bodies, like they will define the project rules and quality threshold, VERA, Gold Standard, ACR, and CAR. Exchanges and registries facilitate trade and track credits, expensive, like the VERA registry and the market. So these are the key player and their roles and responsibilities. Now trading platform and carbon exchange. So the trading platform and the carbon exchange. Carbon can be exchanged also, or the carbon can be traded also. Yes, definitely carbon can be traded. So what are the carbon exchanges? So let's understand this one. So the carbon exchanges are marketplaces where carbon credit are traded. Okay. So in the carbon exchanges, these are the marketplaces where you can trade the carbon. Similar to a stock exchange. So it is the same thing where you will trade your stock. So the same way you can exchange your carbon. So these platforms bring together buyers and sellers. So both the buyers and sellers will get together here. Okay, then they will help pricing, discovery, transparency, and liquidity in carbon markets. So there are exchanges for both, for the carbon if you want to sell or if you want to buy. So there are the exchange for both for the compliance market, government regulated, or the voluntary carbon markets also. So these are the carbon exchanges for both. That is the carbon exchanges. So what is the purpose of carbon exchanges and the description? So the price discovery, that is one of the purpose. Establish fair market prices for carbon credits. Then the liquidity, that is the purpose, make it easier to buy or sell. Transparency, publish market data, transaction records, and volume. Efficiency, so streamline matching of buyers and sellers, and the access, easy access allows corporates, investors, and brokers to participate. So this is the main purpose and description. Now let's move to the types of carbon trading platforms. So there are different types of carbon trading platforms such as compliant exchange. Okay, what they will do, they will governed by regulatory programs, and examples like the European Union, ETS, California carbon markets, ICE. Then voluntary platforms support project-based credit trading like air carbon, climate impact X. Then the hybrid exchanges also is there. So these are the different types of carbon trading platforms. So these are the carbon trading platforms that we can use to trade the carbon. Now the major carbon trading platforms, as you know, that there is expensive CBL, formerly Carbon Place, Air Carbon Exchange, Climate Impact X, CME Group, Intercontinental Exchange, and the protocol KlimaDAO blockchain. So all of these are the major carbon trading platforms. Key features of carbon trading platform. So let's have a look into this one. The key features of carbon trading platform. So it is a real-time pricing. So price will be the actual one, and it is a real-time one. Access to live market price. Okay, like the stock price. Then the project filter. Project choose credit by types, geography, and core benefits. And the verification integration sync with the registries like the Vera or the gold standard. So you can see that whether this carbon credit is managed by or verified by the which integration like the Vera or the gold standard. The wallet and the custody also secure digital holding of carbon credits, and the reporting dashboard. So monitor transactions, retirements, and offsetting. All you can have a easy access. Now, how a carbon credit works? So the carbon credit works typical flow. The project will develop. Okay, registers registers the project and receives verified credits. Then credits are listed to a trading platform of a marketplace. So once you develop the project, you will receive the carbon credit. Okay, then the carbon credit you have to list it on a trading platform or a market place like the stock exchange. Then the buyer will place the bids like stock exchange, like if you are buying any stock, so what the price you want to buy. Then the credit are transferred through a registry. Then credits are retired if used to offset emission or resold. So in this way, the carbon credit will work. Future trends in carbon exchanges. So AI and blockchain for real-time credit tracking, it is already there, and the standardization of credit type across platforms, growth of retail investors, access to carbon credits, and increased interoperability between the exchange and the registries, and expansion of nature-based and removal-based markets also is there in the future. So that's all for the module number 4, and next we have the module number 5 and the module number 6. I hope till here the information which I have provided you like the all this information and you understood very well. But still, if you have doubt, please do comment in the comment section and let me know what if I have to clear anything. And that's all for this video. So for our next part, in part 2, we will discuss about the module number 5 and the module number 6. So see you in the next video, and thank you so much for your time and support. And please, if you haven't subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel, like the video, and share the video also. And please comment also which part of the country you are, which part of the world you are watching my video. Thank you, and see you in the next video.